So for starters, I'm just gonna lay it to you guys straight. I love this game and I think it's a work of art. That doesn't mean that it's beyond criticism. I do have my problems with it, but generally speaking, the art direction and the story in my mind are flawless. It's interesting, it's thought-provoking. Even when I'm not playing this game, I'm thinking about it. So to touch upon the story very briefly before we get into all of my negative criticisms about the game, your character is not human. You are actually playing as an alien creature that kind of has human characteristics. Maybe it's a super long into the future advanced version of humanity, I don't know. But the point is that whatever this species is, they value progress over anything else. So much so that they're willing to abandon their humanity for the sake of achieving that goal. Obviously, a lot of the story is left open to interpretation, but my theory is that this species ended up starting using organic matter and life as a fuel source, living creatures. And eventually, like the dwarves in the mines of Moria, they delved too deeply. And eventually it backfired and they ended up releasing a virus that just annihilated all of them. The very spaceship that you're exploring is a living entity. And so the virus was also able to assimilate that. The enemies that you're fighting in this game don't feel like hostile native creatures. They feel like an infection. Eventually another creature ends up latching onto you like a symbiote, and the entire basic premise of the game is, okay, I need to progress deeper so that I can get this thing off of me before it kills me. I won't dive deeper into the different theories that I have about this game because I do want to kind of save that for another video, but that's the general idea. Now, as far as the game is concerned, frankly speaking, the store description for this game is completely wrong, and a lot of the media that was leading up to the release of this game is also incorrect. So for those of you that don't know, Scorn is described as a first-person horror adventure game. It suggests that you'll end up exploring different interconnected regions in a non-linear fashion. I can tell you that all of that is dead wrong. This game is a puzzle game. The closest semblance of what Scorn is in terms of gameplay is Myst, but with guns. The combat is slow and clunky. There's a little too many elevators in the game, and it is 100% linear. You are progressing from one level into the next, with maybe one or two hallways that you can wander down to find a secret ammo cache. But for the most part, you are walking straight to the end, and sometimes you'll end up being stopped by either a puzzle or an enemy that you have to defeat. I feel like the description of the game is what's hurting it the most, but I'm also seeing a lot of people complain about difficulty. There is no difficulty option with this game, and so how hard or easy people end up finding the game is entirely subjective. Personally, I found this game to be very well balanced. I always had just enough health, and just when I was about to run out of ammo, I would find a station that would give me more. But the weakest link in this game is the combat, 100%. I feel like if they ended up embracing the fact that this was a puzzle game and added puzzle-like elements to the combat, it would have been something that people would find a lot more enjoyable. Like, imagine the same game, but if the combat had the intricacies of something like Dead Space. The reason why I have this thought in the back of my mind is because early on in the game, I ended up shooting off the leg of one of the enemies, and it completely immobilized it, allowing me to finish it off with melee kill. But no matter how many times I would shoot enemies in the leg, I was never able to replicate this. But even despite those criticisms, the art direction and story are just gripping onto me, and they won't let me go. And so at the end of it all, I just can't help but give this game a 5 out of 5. As far as I'm concerned, what is lacking in the gameplay is more than made up for in the experience that this game gives you. But even though I personally give it a perfect score, I can acknowledge that this game is not going to be for everybody and that the majority of people probably just won't like it. But for me, I believe that Scorn explores a very dark place that a lot of people have in the back of their minds and don't want to go there. And the ending message of this game is nothing but sadness, because it basically tells a tale that life is pointless, which is so poetically fitting for a game called Scorn, because the description for the word scorn is the feeling or belief that someone or something is worthless or despicable. It was in the title right from the start.